Welcome back into the Midtown Madness podcast with your favorite Billiken odd couple, Peter Hale and Zach Miller. Pete, we had quite the eventful week on the microphone, but not necessarily on this show.
Yeah, that's right. With the College Basketball Stories podcast had us on to talk about the 2011-2012 season, one of our favorite seasons as SLU fans, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. They kind of. I think they got a lot of their inspiration from Drunk History, and I tried to oblige their request as best I could. So if anybody got that drawl out of me, I truly apologize for having to listen to me drawl on, like just draw out my words exponentially as the night went on.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I went at a slower pace, I think. But it was it was a good conversation. It was fun to relive a lot of that stuff that I hadn't thought about in quite some time. And yeah, thanks again to them for having us on. That was cool to do.
Yeah, definitely go check them out. They're on all the podcast platforms. You can find them on Twitter at the CBB Stories on Twitter. It's hosted by Jeremy Schwab. He's at JER Schwab. That's SCHWOB. Matt Lynch at Matt_Lynch15. And then I don't know this guy's full name, but I know his first name is Patrick. It's at PROY3515 on Twitter. So go follow them and go listen to that episode because my goodness, it was a lot of fun. And I just thought it was, it was a great time, like talking about, the Conklin smash again, Conklin Summers. It dropped me right back into 2011, 2012.
Yeah, it did. And I'm going to be curious because he talked about they do actually kind of produce and edit a little bit, whereas we just kind of let it roll and cut it off when we're done. So I'm kind of curious what the final one sounds like. So I definitely need to listen to that. And then, it's all over our social media already, both for Zach and me and the show. And it sounds like we've already had a couple people listen to it too.
Including yours. Yeah. Including yours truly.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. It's the most I've listened to my voice on recording, I think, in the last 20 years. I listened to half of it. I had to cut it off. When I can listen to my voice, but then I get into like personal stories and I just can't. I had to cut it off at the Atlantic City part.
Okay.
That's where I cut it off.
I'll listen to the whole thing. I guess I don't have as much whatever. I don't have any issues listening to myself, even though I don't like my voice.
I guess cringe fear is how I would describe it.
I get it. I get what that is. But yeah, so and we actually already have a correction because one of the questions they asked us is if Rick Majerus had a meal that would be named after him or dedicated to him or would be like his favorite at a local restaurant, what would it be? And neither of us really knew, and we kind of threw some ideas out there, but as it turns out, he actually does have something
like 4 or 5.
Yeah, so like there's one at like LaRusso's. And,
yes, that was the big.
Yeah, so check out our Twitter because those are those have been shared there, and they very much sound like appropriate meals for his memory.
Yeah, nothing I can eat on the at LaRusso's. It's all seafood. So I was a little bummed I can't even, try to go in and give it a try. But we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the present. And at the present time, we have the 21-22 Billikens. And they played Belmont on Tuesday night and dropped a heartbreaking, a lot of the talk was that they threw this game away. 64-59 loss to Belmont at home. Pete, this one hurt,
It really, it always hurts to kind of to lose a lead. And this is a game we led really, until what, the 5 or 6 minute mark left in the second half. led at halftime 32-26, which honestly was one of the closer margins of the first half. There were a few different times where we had double digit leads, like I think actually the start was like 18-3 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. This game, when we were talking about the Loyola Marymount game in 2011, 2012,
yeah,
when I'm listening to that, it started to remind me of this game against Belmont, because you talk about the foul trouble. And one of the major points of this game was Martin Linson being in major foul trouble in the second half. And I think that allowed a lot of what Muszynski wanted to do for Belmont to happen.
Yeah, he never really got it going in the first half. He's their big scorer. He averages over 18 points a game, and he also happens to be
terrible.
Yeah, 6'11". I mean, so it's rare anymore that teams have a true 5-man who happens to also be their leading scorer, but that's what he is for them. And then they get a lot of production on the wing from a guy named Ben Shepard, who also did not have his best night. 2 for 7 from 3, 3 of 11 from the field overall. So he had hit a couple big shots in the second half, but never really got going the way he normally does. It was kind of their third and fourth guys who really did it to us. Grayson Murphy and Will Richard. Richard hit a few big 3-pointers in a row, and in the first half to kind of keep them in the game. And then they really got it done inside in the second half. I think this is really a story of SLU could not score at the rim. And once Belmont kind of got that momentum going in the second half, taking it out Linson, who was in foul trouble, not being subbed out for Traore, who played a little bit in the first half. And Okoro was apparently under the weather, so he didn't play anymore in this game either. So it was really them just taking it right at Linson, who had 4 fouls. Linson standing there kind of helpless, and over they got it done at the rim.
You tweeted something out from the podcast account, I believe Tuesday night, and it was that for 2 straight games, the third leading scorer was the one to kind of beat us in that game. Does that tell you something about maybe we have 2 lockdown defenders and then the rest are maybe so?
I was thinking about that. It's actually 3 in a row, because it was the
yeah, I knew it was
Boise State, UAB, and now it was in this game Richard for Belmont. And I don't necessarily think that's the case, because I was thinking about who would have been guarding these guys, and they each had kind of different roles, they're all different size players. They had different guys guarding them at different points. So it wasn't necessarily like you could say, like last year, it would have been easy to go Goodwin's man, French's man got nothing. And then after that, it was a problem. But that really wasn't the case here. It was kind of a team effort that let these guys score the way they did.
Yeah, it seemed like in this game, it was a case of almost Jimerson getting no help, especially from the 3-point line. Gibson goes 3 for 5, 60%. But I mean, really only one other player made a 3, and that was Terrence Hargrove, who went 1 of 4.
Yeah.
Gibson took care of the ball, only 1 turnover. I just felt, it does feel like Gibson just kind of had a great night, and then everybody else just kind of didn't have it.
Yeah, he once again did a good job of getting open, getting looks. He hasn't been getting as many attempts from 3 as we would like this season, but he did go 3 for 5, which is pretty good. I mean, honestly, I like when he shoots more than 5 threes a game. I think 5. He was averaging about 4.5. So for him to get 5 or more, I think is good at the rate that he shoots at. But in general, we didn't get a whole lot of. We only shot 14 threes as a team, like you said. So we didn't get much going there. And then this was just another game that Yuri Collins was just not himself. He shot a couple threes and didn't make one. Only went 3 from the line, but it's really the 6 turnovers that kind of worried me here. He did have 6 assists to go with that, but he just didn't look like his normal self.
Yeah, there has been a lot of talk about, you mentioned Okoro being under the weather, how much, um, Yuri Collins is under the weather. I think it is funny to hear people talking about players being under the weather because I think a lot of people forget there's other stuff out there that can get you
Yeah.
sick, you know.
Right.
And I wonder how much of that maybe was Yuri Collins being maybe under the weather. And nobody has ever come out and said it. I can't confirm it. It's all speculation, but it's something to maybe think about.
Yeah, I mean it's a possibility, and we had in the next game some other people out with illness, so there's definitely something kind of going around, non-COVID related, obviously, but well, not obviously, but confirmed. But regardless, it seems like maybe a few people were not at 100%.
Yeah, and one of the big issues I saw when looking at this box score, the glaring stat is 60% from the line, especially that 42.86% in the second half, which really, I mean, kind of did the Billikens in.
Yeah, and not getting to the line a whole lot either. Not that Belmont did. They only shot 9 free throws, so SLU did a good job of not putting them on the line a lot. But shooting 15 is less than you want, and yeah, it's just kind of a frustrating night. I think like really what it was back-to-back games that they blew double-digit leads in the second half. And when you start a game, like I said before, 18-3, it just feels like it's your night. So then when it winds up not being your night, it's just very frustrating. Belmont's a good team. You kind of see how they kind of score in bunches. They play well together. They score fast. They like to shoot early in possessions. Basically take their first good shot. They move the ball around well. But they also just were so beatable all night. They were off. They were only 6 for 24 from three. They were okay for the night overall from the field, but only really because of what they did in the second half. So on a night where they weren't shooting that well, and they're not necessarily a great rebounding team, it just felt like one that really got away, one that we should have won.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody in the arena was just stunned, and I talked about it before the game with the guy I sit next to, and buddy, and he go like we were talking about the second half collapse, and I said, I wonder how much it is, and I don't want to hang it on the student section because God, I was there, I've been there, and students that do show up, it's very much appreciated. But when students show up and you've got a big crowd over there, and then they come out after halftime and half the section's gone, it's like, I mean, it's you should be able to get up for the second half, but it could take the air out of you a little bit.
Right. Yeah, just very deflating in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, one more note on this game before we move on. I'm curious your take of the announcing. Unfortunately, I had to bail and go to my car. And on the way to the car, I was watching on the NBC Sports feed. And man, the announcer was just like, "This is worst case scenario for the Billikens. It's worst case," and I'm like, I don't think you know what that phrase means, because like we're only down like 2 with like 4 minutes to go, and eventually we did lose, right? But
yeah,
I thought the announcer was horrible.
Yeah, he was definitely playing up the Belmont comeback a lot. I don't know. It didn't really. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love it, but it didn't get to me the way that our actual gameplay did.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
I was a lot more frustrated. It was almost like he was like the worst dramatic version of like what we see about people like freaking out during a game on Twitter, on a message board or whatever. He was the one being, with that sort of negativity from a SLU perspective. But I guess if you're a neutral announcer, neutral broadcast, you're probably trying to play up the drama of it all, and that's kind of what he was doing here.
Fair play. I think you're pretty spot on there. luckily, the Billikens had another opportunity this week to bounce back with a win, and they did so with a 79-68 win versus Boston College. And the score really doesn't tell how well the Billikens played for 35 minutes and then spent 5 minutes trying to get Yuri Collins the all-time school assist record for a game.
Yeah, so it happened. I mean, it was wild.
Yes, it did.
So he had 8 at halftime. So it was already like a great game for assists. His personal record coming into the game was 12. SLU's all-time record was 18 by Jim Roeder back in 1987. And then the next mark down, I think there was a 14. And then after that, it was 12, right? Because Yuri was tied with Roeder for another one of his games. So watching him just, I don't know, assist every basket in the second half was really something to marvel at.
Yeah, I think a lot of these numbers here, like you're looking at the final score, and I think a lot of the numbers, including the final score, have a lot to do with the Billikens trying to get him the record. And I wonder at what point in the game they decided to go for it, because I think 15 is when I started the Yuri Collins watch on my row.
It was clear that they were what number was that, where it was like obvious that they were trying to go for it? I mean, really the last one was the one where it by no means does it deserve an asterisk or anything.
No.
But he throws a ball down court to a wide open waiting Hargrove, who dunks it with 2.5 seconds left in a game that was already decided.
Yeah.
I honestly, that stuff does not bother me at all. I know there are fans who are like, you don't dunk it in those, you don't even shoot in those circumstances. I'm like, play the clock out. Who cares? That's never bothered me. So I didn't mind it at all. I kind of love that it gave him the standalone record right after he had tied the 18 mark. So to see him get 19 like that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was probably somewhere around 14 or so that they really started thinking like, okay, let's I don't know if they knew what the mark was in their minds or if they were told, but it was clear that they were like, let's get him some more dimes because this is a special night.
Did you have a problem with them going for it? And I mean, Boston College did kind of make a comeback there, and it didn't. I was comfortable enough, kind of I would have been comfortable enough walking away from that game, and like I would have called Rammer would have called ball game at some point way before they started this comeback. I don't think they had a chance to come back, but did that worry you at all, or did you have any concern over that?
I wasn't necessarily worried. I mean, by the time that they hit a couple threes and a couple other shots late. They really went on kind of a run late. But it was clear that it was not going to be, they were just going to run out of time. Like they just didn't have enough time. This is honestly, this is a game where if there were a couple more minutes, I would have been a little worried, given the way the last couple games went, because they decided to start hitting shots, something they had not done at all game. They were under 30% in the first half. I think they were 1 of 9 from 3 in the first half and 2 of 8 in the second half. So they never really hit their threes, just a couple late. They actually did shoot free throws pretty well in this one when they got to the line, which they did more in the second half.
Nothing was getting called in that first half.
No, so I wasn't worried. I mean, it's one of those things, like by the time that they make that final play to Hargrove at the end of the game, it was a single digit lead. It's not an outrageous, it's not like we were up 30, we're up 9 when that happens. So I think anyone who's upset by that can honestly relax, but
they got a big dump in their pants.
Yeah,
has been my like descriptor for the last couple of days. I don't know why that phrase makes me laugh and it's stuck in my head, but it has.
Yeah, not the one that's in my head, but now it is.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but regardless, I mean, this was a great game from Collins. I mean, not only did he set the record with 19 assists, he had 2 turnovers. And when he was asked about it in the post game, I think the question was, what was more important, the number of assists or the number of turnovers? And before they could finish the question, he was just like, turnovers. That's everything. And I also love when a guy has as many steals as he does turnovers. Which Yuri did here. Which to me, wipes out. They wipe each other out, and then you've just got the 19 assists. So what an absolute clinic by him.
That you used a word a little bit ago, outrageous, and I want to give you an outrageous comparison. Yuri Collins had 19 assists. Jimerson led all scorers with 19 points.
Yeah. It wasn't Jimerson's most efficient night. 5 of 13 from 3, which I said it just a few minutes ago for the last game.
I was waiting for this.
Love when he takes a ton of threes. 5 of 13, go ahead and shoot 13 threes. I mean, if you make 5 of them, that's fine. I'll take that. He was 6 of 18 from the field overall, which is a little low. He didn't really get the inside out game working for himself this time like he has in the past. But yeah, I don't mind that at all. But yeah, 19 points, leading scorer, 19 assists. It just shows you that Yuri's contribution here was just off the charts. We had 29 field goals as a team, and he's got 19 assists. And then he's made 5 of those field goals. So there's only 5 baskets in this game that he did not directly contribute to. I mean, I just that's why I've never seen a slew guard do that before. That's incredible.
Another outrageous stat was the foul disparity between half one and half two. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me. I mean, yeah, they changed the game, but they changed it consistently for both teams.
Right.
But one of the odd, I thought Boston College completely changed up their style and almost purposefully started fouling at some point. Like, because they started pressing and it felt like they were trying to foul. It was very strange.
Yeah, I got that for a while too. Like it was almost like they saw that the refs were kind of calling it a little looser in the first half, or not necessarily looser, but this was just not a very physical game. And it's almost like that Patino thing where he does it in the first couple minutes, where he kind of will put some pressure on and kind of test the refs and see what his guys can get away with, and they'll hack and slap and grab as much as they can. As much as they can get away with. So it's almost like they tried to deploy that 30 minutes into the game, which was weird.
Yeah. Maybe it was that, and maybe it was that they saw that a lot of stuff wasn't being called, and they were worried that they were going to have to foul down the stretch.
Sure.
And they wanted to get ahead of it. I don't know. I thought it was odd. But Yuri Collins grabbed all the headlines in this game, rightfully so. Yeah. But, we got to talk about Francis Okoro.
Yeah.
He had quite the offensive night. Not offensive night, offensive night.
Yeah, in 28 minutes coming off the bench, he was 7 of 8 from the field, and then perfect 3 for 3 from the free throw line, to go with 6 rebounds here and 3 blocks. He did get he and Linson both got into a little foul trouble. Linson more so because they both had 4 fouls, but Linson in fewer minutes and a couple turnovers. But this was a really good bounce back game from Okoro, coming off of an illness. But throughout the game, before people knew he was sick, because I think that was said in the post game presser against Belmont. Throughout the game, people were pretty critical of him, not really knowing why he was so bad in the first half, why he was stashed on the bench in the second half. But yeah, coming back with 17-6 off the bench is just a great night. He looked like just so focused, and really I felt like his vision and decision making were better than they had been all season 2. So it looks like he kind of made some strides in this game.
Yeah, one more bright spot for the Billikens was the 3-point defense in this one. I think we talked that BC wasn't very good at 3-point shooting, but I mean, I thought the Billikens were very good at defending it on top of BC not making open shots.
Yeah, I think so too. A lot better job closing out. You know, BC does play a little slower, more deliberate style. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we were all over them from the perimeter. They're not a bad 3-point shooting team coming into this game. They were over, 36, 37%, something like that. So not a bad 3-point shooting team at all. They just don't shoot a ton. And in this game, just wasn't their game. But I think SLU did a good job defending the perimeter.
One thing I thought, there were maybe two spots that could be improved on. Obviously, the Billikens let Boston College back in the game, but we all kind of, we know. Yuri Collins assist record. Allowed too many offensive rebounds, and really, I thought they were poor in the second half defensively. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're gonna compare the halves, they were just so good defensively in the first half that that naturally, Boston College was going to heat up a little bit. They were going to find their spots a little bit more, make some adjustments. So I almost kind of like that didn't bother me as much. The offensive rebounding did because that haunted us against UAB, less so against Belmont, but yeah, that's definitely an area of concern moving forward, I think.
Yeah. Let's go around the A10. We start out Sunday. Actually, we covered that. We probably covered that. So let's jump to Tuesday. Rhode Island beats Sacred Heart at home 72-62. LaSalle beats Fairleigh Dickinson 81-55. They lit up the L and put up the smoke at Gola Arena for that one. Northeastern 82, UMass 76 in Boston. George Mason beats Navy 71-65. Belmont beat your Billiken 64-59. Duquesne drops a 20-point game to DePaul. My goodness. Wednesday, December 8th.
DePaul is better this year.
Are they?
Got to give them that, but Duquesne is bad.
You really thought Dan Brown was going to build something? I did not. So that does not surprise me. George Washington wins a game at home 75-62 over Coppin State. VCU beats Jacksonville State by 14, 66-52. Bonaventure beats Loyola Maryland 84-71. St. Joe's 78, University of Pennsylvania 71. Dayton drops an 8-point game to Southern Methodist University in Dallas 77-69. A tough loss for Dayton. And I mean, there's continually up and down for the Flyers.
It is. At least this is a road game against a pretty good team. And it was a good night overall for the conference. Got those other 4 games. No hiccups there, including a good win for St. Joe's over Penn. But yeah, it's just going to be an up and down season for Dayton. And I'm hoping they don't, lock in during the conference. I'd rather see them have a better non-conference, than A10 season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when conference schedule rolls around. We've crossed the halfway point of the week. Fordham, not the worst team in the A10.
Not at all.
And by far, 73-57 win over LIU Brooklyn. I'm not sure Fordham has left New York to play any games this year.
Ooh, that's a good point. I'm going to look that up while you're going over the other scores.
Duquesne 64, New Hampshire 62. This is Saturday slate now. St. Joe's 68, Temple 49, LaSalle 76, UPenn 74. That's weird. That's weird in the A10. In the A10, one says University of Pennsylvania and the other just says Penn. That's interesting how they have that done. Connecticut 74, Bonaventure 64. UMass loses by 9 to North Texas, 66-57. Billikens beat Boston College, 79-68. Richmond tops Toledo by 3, 72-69 in Richmond. VCU goes on the road, sort of, to Old Dominion and wins 75-66. Sunday, that'd be today when we're recording, Miami squeaks out a win against Fordham. Again, Fordham on the rise, 72-66. Davidson trounces Northeastern 79-69. And then Dayton ekes out a win that looked like Virginia Tech wanted to come back, but they just could not, 62-57. And that was in Dayton. And I thought it was a little wild that Virginia Tech was getting 3 points in it, or was favored by 3 points in that one.
Yeah, but again, I mean, would you honestly ever want to bet on this Dayton team one way or the other this season? The roller coaster ride continues. And in the meantime, I did look up our friends over at Fordham. They did have that what was called the Gulf Coast Showcase event down in Florida, where they wound up winning 2 out of 3 against Akron and Rice and dropping 1 to Delaware. But other than that, their road games have been at Manhattan College, Central Connecticut State, which is obviously not far, at St. John's in Queens, and then this Miami game they just played at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So they really have kept it local, other than that Florida event.
That's, they are really living the shop local mantra up there for the holidays.
Yeah.
Big game coming up on the 18th. Pete, Bruce Pearl, coming off a 2-game NCAA suspension, brings his Tigers of Auburn to Chaifetz Arena. Yeah,
I was really at first somebody said, oh, he's Pearl suspended and SLU's going to be the last game. So there was a hot minute where I kind of thought like, oh, this is an interesting matchup if it's if Pearl's not even on the bench, but I guess he is back for this one, isn't he?
Yeah, I'll tell you why I think this is an interesting, more intriguing matchup than most people are giving credit. Mm-hmm. Auburn has one true road game on their schedule leading up to this Billiken game. It's a 6-point win at South Florida. So my question is, can Chaifetz Arena provide a hostile environment for Auburn that they might not be accustomed to yet this season?
Ooh, that's a good question, because we I don't know, we haven't gotten great. We've been talking about this a little bit. We've not gotten great crowds this season. But
it is Auburn and it is Bruce Pearl.
It is Auburn. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I'll be in the house for this one. I will be in St. Louis this weekend. This will be my first home game of the year, first game in person, I guess, of the year. So I'll be as hostile as I can possibly be. But the question is, are there enough hundreds or thousands of other people who are willing to do the same?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to take 1 point off the Billiken spread, because I will not be in attendance. Unfortunately, this will be the first I guess since 2018 was the last time I missed, or 2019 was the last time I missed a game, and I was in Mexico. So yeah, this will be the first time in a long time that I've been in the St. Louis that I'm not making a game. But decisions had to be made.
Yeah.
What is, I mean, the real question, I think, on the court though, is, can the Billikens handle the pressure that Auburn is kind of known to hang their hat on?
Man, I hope so. The pressure is the one thing that kind of scares me this season. I think even our friend Carter Chapley tweeted in Boston College, when they did throw like we talked about in the second half, when they did throw a little pressure, they actually, forced Yuri into a couple uncomfortable situations a couple times. We have not handled the press great this year. We had all kinds of trouble against Memphis and the pressure that they put on us basically everywhere on the floor. So I think that's a real problem, especially when you look at this team. They're not quite as big as Memphis, but they've got some size and a ton of athleticism. They've got I think 5 top 100 recruits on the team. And just they've got a lot of firepower. So I think it's going to be, I think Pearl's style is a worse matchup for us this year than it would be in other years.
Yeah, I agree. And the one person I think I worry about the most in this game is Fred Thatch. And the one person I think we'll see more of, and I want to see more of, is DeAndre Jones, and maybe a little Williams didn't do too well with the ball when he did get in, but I definitely want to see more DeAndre Jones in this one than maybe Fred Thatch as much as you can.
I think we will. And Nesbitt's going to have a good game in this one too. He's going to have to be really locked in on the defensive end. He can be a real spark plug offensively. But he kind of has the size and ability to line up with some of the guys on Auburn. Now, the one thing that we do have going in our favor, Auburn's a pretty young team. Jabari Smith, their best player, who averages 17 and 7. He's a freshman, 6'10", 220. And even though he's like a top, 5 recruit overall this past year, he is a freshman, and like we've seen with Memphis, after they played us, they've had some rough games.
Because of course, that's why.
Well, and the rest of their lineup, it's a lot of sophomores. I think their only senior is Zep Jasper, who's more of a role player, like their 7th or 8th guy. So they're fairly young, fairly inexperienced. They've got a lot of transfers. So you hope those factors kind of converged to make them a little more inconsistent. Like you said, they've only played one true road game, and it was against a pretty bad South Florida team. So anything can happen, like I wouldn't be shocked to see us really have a competitive game here, but there's a lot of talent on the other side of the ball in this one. Auburn has earned their number 18 ranking for sure.
Yeah, we'll win because I'm not in the house to experience it. That's just how it'll go.
I'm going to be as hostile as I can, like I said, but there's no way I can make up for what you bring to the arena.
No, absolutely not. And that I think that reminds us that you will be in town, and we might try to bring you an in-person episode next time. We're gonna try it. We'll see what happens, but I know we're gonna link up. So that's exciting to have you in town. We're gonna try to link up Sunday.
Unfortunately, we'll try and make that work.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not gonna work out before the game or after the game. Maybe if the Billikens win, you might find me out somewhere just losing my mind. But big game. That'll be Saturday, the 18th of December at 8 p.m. Don't know why it's an 8 p.m. start. That really kills my vibe. But hopefully it'll be a raucous crowd that spent a lot of day drinking time on Saturday.
I like the later start. I'm in town with my wife and kids, and the later the better, because that gets them closer to bedtime and everything, so I can get out. So honestly, a 9 p.m. start would be ideal for me, but maybe coming from Eastern time, 8 p.m. there feels like 9 here. So maybe they'll be tired earlier or something like that. But regardless, I'll be there doing the best I can. And hopefully this is well attended. So tell your friends and everybody get out to this one if you can.
Let's talk women's basketball. It is a bit of a slog this season for the women's basketball. It really started with the loss of Rachel Kent to the transfer portal. It continued with the loss of MST to an ACL injury. Now the Billikens are dealing with the injury bug. Martinez, according to Billikens.com anyway, the Torch posted, Martinez out with a stress fracture, and Brooke Flowers has been in concussion protocol for, I believe, these last 2 games. But they went on the road and dropped a dreadful loss to SIU 63-57.
It's honestly, it's kind of remarkable that they with everything that you just said, how much they've lost, how short their bench is right now, that they were as close as they were in this game. SIUE is probably stronger in the women's game relative to competition than they are on the men's side. They are 4-4. They're not a horrible team. It's a bad loss. It's a loss that I think any one of those players being around would have made the difference on. But it's a game that SLU goes 1 of 11 from 3. And when you've got this many injuries and this short a bench, you've got to hit your shots. Kylie Bess had come on a little bit in their 2 most recent wins against Tennessee Martin, and I think it was SEMO before that, and shot the ball well off the bench. And in this one, she didn't. She was kind of a non-factor in 29 minutes. Didn't hit a shot. Not Harbison's best game either. 20 field goal attempts, and she only hit 6 of them. When you're this short benched, you just got to shoot the ball well. You got to move the ball around well and shoot it well. And, I feel bad for them. I really do, but not their night.
Yeah, this was 3 quarters of even basketball, as bad as they played. And then the fourth quarter, SIUE kind of pulled away, which is funny because it was almost the best offensive performance for the Billikens was in that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is what it is. Peyton Kennedy, 17-7. Natalie McNeil had a double-double. Besides the poor 3-point shooting, 21 turnovers in this one. Sloppy basketball. I mean, to me, that kind of signals that this is a team that has a lot of moving parts coming in and out of the lineup that aren't used to playing together.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the front court, McNeil and Gould are your starters. And if I had told you before the season that they would ever both start the same game, it would go, you'd say like, what happened? Clearly this is not the way it was intended to be. So yeah. And like you said, 21 turnovers, SIUE did have 19. This was just an ugly game all around, unfortunately. But I really hope kind of that they can find their shooting. It's just, I don't know what to say other than I hope they can get healthy as much as possible. Obviously there's a knee injury, then that's not coming back anytime soon, but hope everybody else can get healthy as soon as possible and hopefully get some reinforcements going.
Yeah, Marissa Warren had a tough game in this one.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes, 5 points, 5 turnovers in this one. She really ran the point in this one as well. 7 assists, but I think she's really stepped into that role left by Brooke Martinez out with that stress fracture. But moving on to their second game of the week, they dropped an 11-point game to Northern Kentucky, 80-69. Just again, still no Flowers or Martinez. And I think that the phrase we're going to use for the women's basketball season is Billikens go as the 3-point shooting goes. And once again, it did not go well in this one, 26.7%.
Yeah, this was, I guess, the second half of a doubleheader with the men's team the other night. And this is one over the course of the game, you could just kind of see it slipping away. Tied at the end of the first quarter, down 2 at half. And then Northern Kentucky just pulls away over the course of the second half. Another frustrating game, another poor shooting night. They did clean up the turnovers in this one. Had plenty of shot attempts, but just not a great overall performance from the field, going 4 for 15 from 3, not getting to the free throw line a whole lot. Just a lot more efficient game from Northern Kentucky on the other side.
Yeah, just to point out, if you didn't watch this game and you were curious how shorthanded The Billikens are. If you watched it, you could see the bench. There's 9 players. They played 9 players in this one. And I believe Sarah Lazar is a walk-on.
Right.
Nai Tong has played 26 minutes in the last 2 games. She has not come close to single game minutes that she's had in the last 2 games. Not even, I don't think she's had double digits since joining the Billikens. So absolutely just a depleted roster, and hopefully Flowers or Martinez can come back, if nothing more than to just give somebody a rest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is just, this is the kind of game where you see this as a more evenly matched team, and you see it slipping away really because of that short bench. Getting out rebounded by 10, it's those kind of hustle stats that you see falling away. It's frustrating. I feel for them. And yeah, like we just said, I hope they can get healthy.
Yeah, I feel like this one was one of those where like Northern Kentucky went up early, and it just felt like the women's team was not gonna make a comeback. It just felt like they were gonna keep pushing it to a tie and then falling away late. So really unfortunate. But they, it's going to be a tough season. I don't think there's going to be a lot of bright spots for this women's team going forward.
No, it's disappointing. A lot of it's out of their control, but it's a bummer. And at least they have a week until their next game.
Yeah, the women's basketball is now 3-7 overall, and they will take on Illinois Springfield in Chicago. Or sorry, not Illinois Springfield. Jesus, I'm thinking of our show we did Wednesday night.
Yeah,
they will be in Chicago Saturday, December 18th, 1 p.m. to play the UIC Flames, and that'll be on ESPN Plus and the radio on SLUBillikens.com. There's some other stuff to talk about a little bit in Billiken land. We're going to start with track and field because they're playing right now, or not playing, but competing right now. Pete, talk a little bit about what's going on in track and field, because you pulled this out. So like kudos to you for finding this.
Sure.
At the end of the notes, I'm just like, all right, I got basketball. I'm tired.
Yeah. So just to acknowledge, like we try and cover all the sports. The indoor season did start. We haven't really covered them yet. For track and field, they kind of do a split winter season that wraps up in late February, early March. So they did their third event of the year on Friday at Indiana and Bloomington, where they will have a couple meets again in January. And we had a couple records. Miles Gascon matched his own school record and finished third overall at the event in the 60-meter dash with a time of 6.94 seconds. So that matches his own SLU record in the event. And then Jackson Higley broke the school mile record and finished fourth overall with a time of 4:10.79.
It's about what I can run.
Yeah, I don't think I could do double that. But yeah, anyway, so just wanted to kind of acknowledge that they are, breaking a couple of records there recently. Their next meet isn't until January 15th at Nebraska. They've got a little bit of a winter break, but just a heads up, indoor track and field is happening, and yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah, it's good to talk about these sports that don't get a lot of coverage, and I mean they're Billikens too. We can't forget about them.
That's right.
Speaking of non-Billikens, though, women's soccer and men's soccer. Women's soccer, men's soccer both completed the national championship. They finished up the College Cup. Pete, run us through what went down in the women's soccer Final Four, and please plagiarize as much as possible.
Yeah, so I think this may have been official by the last time we recorded, but Rutgers went on to lose to a one seed, a fellow one seed. They seed a little bit differently in the women's soccer. It's more like men's basketball. So Florida State beat them in the Final Four, and then Florida State went on to beat a 4 seed BYU in PKs, 4-3 in PKs after going scoreless in regulation. So I was kind of hoping Rutgers would go on to win it all, so we could say, hey, look, SLU lost to the best team out there. Unfortunately, it didn't break that way, but it's clear that Rutgers and Florida State and BYU were some pretty elite teams this season. And then over on the men's side, number 8 overall seed Clemson ended up winning the national championship with a 2-0 win over Washington, which was kind of a surprise. I kind of thought Washington would have the upper hand in that one. Washington was the number 2 overall seed, as we know. They beat number 3 Georgetown in the Final Four by a score of 2-1. Clemson tied number 4 overall seed Notre Dame 1-1 in the Final Four and only advanced to the final on PKs. So that was the second time in a row they moved on after winning in PK. So Clemson probably had the least likely path there, but ended up winning the championship.
Yeah, one interesting thing of note with that is the way they seed the men's tournament. I mean, 8 seed Clemson is really like a 3 seed. And the Billikens were kind of like a 3 seed too, or a 4, or like a 3 seed as well. So
yeah, we both kind of be in that 3-4 area. That's exactly right, because they're the number 8 overall seed.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Billikens were 10. So
when you see number 8 seed Clemson beating a 2, 3, or 4, that's a lot closer than it would really appear.
Speaking of Billikens, big time hardware given out so far. Tell us a little bit about Becher and Kip Keller making some lists.
Yeah, so we know Becher and Keller were the offensive and defensive players of the year in the A10, but now we're seeing them get some national recognition. Both All-Americans by the United Soccer Coaches, and that's the one that counts. Becher first team, Keller second team. So they are now the 76th and 77th All-Americans in program history. And Becher's the first teamer since Robbie Christo in 2014. First time since 2002 that 2 players have been named All-Americans in the same season for SLU. So really nice hardware, like you said, for these guys. Becher's also a semifinalist for the Herman Trophy, which is a national award, the highest award given for a college soccer player, even though it is the Herman Trophy and it's given out by the Missouri Athletic Club. He's one of 15 semifinalists. They're going to trim that down to 3 finalists this Wednesday, the 15th. So we'll keep you updated if he does wind up being one of those 3, but he's going to be up against some pretty strong competition. And then on the subject of awards given by the Missouri Athletic Club, Kevin Kalish was presented with the Carl O. Bauer Award on Monday the 6th, which they give out every year to the top amateur sports figure in the St. Louis area. So just awards upon awards for this men's soccer team this season.
Yeah, it's an incredible season. Just outstanding to see them recognized on a national level. And I'm really hoping Becher makes the finalists, so I have an excuse to go to the Herman Trophy presentation. Really, I'm just a selfish human being. So that's kind of why I'm excited for Becher to be recognized nationally. So, I mean, that's pretty much all we got in Billiken land for you. Pete, any last thoughts on the men's basketball, women's basketball, Billiken Highlight, anything?
No, man. I think we pretty much covered it. I guess we'll talk about whether we need to cover esports in the future. Esports or chess?
No.
Okay. All right.
We'll cover chess because it's not masquerading as a sport.
Okay.
No, I know.
Someone's drawn a line in the sand here.
No, they start doing well. We'll start covering them. I mean, like I just prefer competitive. Hey, I'm a big gamer. Like I love my NHL, EA Sports NHL, but I'm not playing an esport. Like that's a video game, man. Like,
yeah,
I'm a lazy jerk on a couch. I'm not, not at that point anyway. Like at that point, I'm doing nothing of consequence. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I good luck to the esports teams and whatever they do. If you guys start winning or want to come on the podcast, anything that's entertainment, I'm all for. So wouldn't mind talking to the head coach, so to speak, over there. So.
Yeah, it's maybe it could be a move for us to grow our audience a little bit more, but at the same time, having people who know nothing about esports talk about esports is probably a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we're lucky that we got decent feedback on our soccer coverage this season.
Yeah, that's
we really dodged a bullet on that one.
And we'll just keep getting better. This was our first really full run through the 2 seasons, so we'll just have to keep getting better.
Yeah, we're definitely that. And again, thank you for all the feedback. I actually had someone stop me and ask me if I was the guy who drove up to Brooklyn for the A10 tournament.
Oh, wow.
Walking out of the basketball game. I'm like, I haven't been recognized for that in like a year. Like, that's weird.
Speaking of recognizing you, I rewatched that Conklin video, that You Want to Play Rough clip, because it was shared after our other podcast guesting this week. And I forgot just how prominent a role you play in the last few seconds of that clip. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everybody should go watch that Conklin Rammer highlight again, because Zach's all over the last few seconds just freaking out.
That, and there's my buddy Lucas Bigford to my right in that video. Watch it for me the first time, and then watch it for Lucas the second time around, because he is beat red, yelling at, I don't know what he's yelling at the Washington bench, but he is absolutely giving it to their bench. It is the funniest thing in history. Also, somebody did spit on his face at the Butler road trip. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a maybe I'll have him come on and tell that.
I'm not surprised, man. Yeah. There was a controversial game with Butler and Xavier back around that time period that ended badly. And I'm not surprised. Those Butler fans could be a little nasty.
They're like the low-key best fans in baseball. Like we compare Dayton fans to the best fans in baseball. Butler won't tell you they're Butler fans unless you're in the arena. Like Dayton are like CrossFitters. They can't wait to tell you they CrossFit. But Butler fans are like weightlifters. Like they don't really talk about it, but when you're in the gym, you know it because you can hear them dropping the weights.
I expected it to be like Dayton has a lot of crossover between people who are students, alums, some way connected to the university and the local community. I did not expect Butler to have that big a mix, but when you go there, it's pretty clear there's a lot of townies, for lack of a better word, who go to Butler game. It's just Indiana, man.
I mean, love some
everybody in Indiana. Oh yeah, we need them. Trust me, we need them. But everybody at Indiana goes to basketball games, and Butler's no exception. So it's a different crowd than I was ready for the first time I went to a Butler game.
I did smash some Chick-fil-A when we were up on that road trip in Hinkle. They were selling it at like a table. Like I don't even know how that's a Division I basketball or they're selling they were selling Chick-fil-A from a table that was like, remember the tables they'd sell candy from at West Pine Gym?
Oh yeah.
That was same deal.
Just a straight up folding table outside the glass doors. Although I will say, since they've gone to the Big East, they have renovated in there. Okay. And so you still have they've still kept all of the historical charm of the place, but it's clear they've had some money to throw into the facility as well. So it's not quite so old school anymore.
All right, well, we'll let the Billiken fans go on that one. I feel like we've kept them. Don't forget to check out the College Basketball Stories podcast. Remember, you can find them. It's all over our social media, which is at Midtown Mad Pod, at Zach Miller MMP, at Peter is a tweeter. Go follow us on on all your podcasting platforms. Thank you guys for listening. It truly is a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun covering soccer, and hopefully basketball continues on a trajectory up from here and not.
To any soccer fans who are still hanging out with us, thank you. Obviously we'll be back next season. We think both the men's and women's teams are going to be really good, and we'll try and just keep getting better with our coverage and try and keep up on all the news for both teams. So thanks for sticking it out with us this year.
Absolutely. I echo that 100%. Thank you guys for listening. Go Bills.
Go Bills.